Yes?
Yep, for sure.
You are watching this on LatinWavesMedia.com. I am Sylvia Richardson, the host of Latin Waves. Latin Waves is a syndicated radio program. It airs from coast to coast in Canada and the US. And I'm very happy to be joined by Henry Basil. He is a member of the Ushalke Dene Nation, which is Northwest Territories in parentheses. Thank you so much for being with me today.
Yes, yeah, you're welcome.
Now, when we think about nations within this beautiful Turtle Island, we often think about the uniqueness of a territory. Can you tell us a little bit about what it was like growing up in Dene Nation?
Well, okay, that's a very, very interesting question for me, because I was born right in the heart of the east arm of Basil Lake. Is called Dene, and that's Dene means land of our ancestors. Dene means many years ago people had lived only off the land in that area, and it's one of the most beautiful areas in Canada. As far as I know, there are so many things that have been talked about. And as a nation, we always kept our land. The best knowledge were the keepers of the land and water at the same time, and those are passed down from my people, my ancestors, from my people many years ago, and still to this day I do that. I'm one of the people that always been on the land, doing things on the land, and I grew up on the land. Aside from being in residential school, you probably heard about that, and that almost took my spirit away, but it did not. And, through the teachings of my mom, my late mom, and my siblings, and my grandfather, and also the elders of my community, it encouraged me to get back to the land. That's the only way you can heal. So after coming out of residential school, I was completely lost. I started to use alcohol more than ever, and eventually I ended up in the streets down in the southern part of Alberta. And then finally I met my elders, and my teacher's elder. He's a teacher for me, and brought me to a treatment center in 1975. That's when my healing journey started. So from there, it took a few years just to kind of hang on to it. I was falling off and then getting back on track again. I've been doing that since 1985. I've totally abstained from alcohol. So what I'm saying is to you is that if a person really wants to heal and continue on the journey that they want to be on, they have to really be in focus with the land. And the land teaches you all the hardship, the love, and the kindness and compassion that she gives me. This is my Mother Earth that I live on, and which is that in my community, my homeland. And I live in the tree land, also on the barren lands, and my people hunt and fish and trap and gather in these two areas. Not too many people that live in that area do that. It's only my people, the Chippewan people that I come from, the place where I come from. Now, let me tell you something about the water. And the water is so clean that if you take a glass of water and dip it into the lake and you put it up against the sun, you cannot tell the difference. And it's so pure, yet to this day. And you can drink the water right out of the lake. And for that, I've been really outspoken to protect the lands, water, animals, and the plants, and everything that grows in my homeland, from pollution, from mining companies, other companies. They want to come into my homeland, but before doing it, they had to consult us as a people, as my people. If they don't consult us, we don't do anything. We don't do business with them. And my people in the Dene Nation area, my people are very, very, very strong about that, protecting the land.
One of the things that defines us as a people is knowledge of our ancestors and who they are, and sacred sites are part of that remembering of who we are and who our people, where our people come from. Can we talk a little bit about what the sacred sites in your territory, in your nation, mean to the people, and how has this the current threats that are faced not just by the people but by the land are also affecting those sites?
Okay. From the elders that has taught me and talked to me about the sacred sites and burial grounds in our area, and those burial sites, they're dated back over 30,000 plus years. Those graves, and my people, my elders told me before I came here, is that to talk about that, and we still want to keep those. And those sacred sites also too. We have a lot of ceremonies in our sacred grounds, and we still use them to this day. We don't allow we do not allow other people to come in there, just coming into those areas, sacred and burial sites. We just don't let them wander free in those areas, and we protect those areas a lot. And we still do it to this day. And we have a lot of sacred sites where my people go over there and they do 10 days or 2 weeks ceremonies in those sites. And one particular area in our area, it's a very, very spiritual area. And there's an old woman, Deshune Heta, means it's an old woman sits in the falls, waterfalls. One of the most beautiful areas in our land, and she sits in the cave at the waterfalls. And if you go over there and make offerings and pray to her, she can heal you. And we have known that a lot of people goes over there from all over our territory, from different nations. They come there to get healed and to be prayed on and to understand who she is. She's an old woman that sits in the waterfalls just below the falls. So people make offerings to her, ask for prayers and for the healing, for if they have complications, like let's say you had having a cripple, and a lot of people it's been healed through her teachings, the way she talks to people. And she answers the people through the prayers if you talk to her in a positive, in a good way. And also too that we have a lot of fish in that area. That oh my goodness, there's so much beautiful fish there. Like we get lake trout, and we get whitefish, we get Arctic grayling, and northern pike. Those are the 4 main fish that we live on out there. And there's still. We can just fish anywhere we want, and we still can get fish to eat.
One of the things that I was thinking as we were imagining this People's Social Forum was that this could be a beautiful place to come together, share stories, share food, and really connect with one another, uniting our nations across Turtle Island and recognizing that the protection of the land, the protection of the waters from pollution, from, you know, whether it's from mining companies or from, you know, that let their you know, their tails, you know, the residues leach into the land, which is very irresponsible, you know. But it also speaks about a culture that sees wealth only in terms of money, you know. The wealth, I think, is also a wealth that is alive, you know. I mean, the living waters of a beautiful river like those in your land, or the you know, the waters of that waterfall that are healing waters, you know, the land that has food that can heal your body, because technically all medicine comes from the land. Everything we are comes from the land, you know. Without water, without oxygen, we wouldn't be here. So how do we teach, how do we learn to walk with each other in a way that is gentle, that is attending to the calling of Mother Nature, attending to the calling of our spirits, because ultimately I think that's the healing that we need, is the healing of our spirit, connecting with our heads and our hearts.
Coming here to this social forum is one of the things that I like about is meeting other Indigenous people. I've never been this far before down east. This is the first time for me. The second time last fall I was here, but I didn't get a chance to talk to people and stuff. But the main thing for me is meeting other Indigenous people. They tell their own stories. They tell me about their sacred sites. They tell me about their ceremonies. We have almost similar but different way of doing it. That really intrigued me. That really inspired me to continue what I'm doing. Most time I always think that I was alone, up so far north where I come from, You know, it seemed like nobody. It seemed to me like no one listens. But when you come down here, meeting other Indigenous people, they're fighting, they're talking and struggling for the same issues that we have, you know, in my community. But the only thing is, when I come down east, there's so much problems, and there's so much pollution. There's so much. The water is, you know, like someone the other day was telling me the Great Lakes are so polluted that you can't fish in it. You know, the rivers and lakes, and it's not like that in my home. So you know, like. And I don't know, sometimes I was thinking, you know, like that's why I'm fighting for, struggling for my homeland. So it never turns like that. It will never, you know, as long as I live. Like I won't let mining companies to pollute our area, the water, and the land, the animals, and the plants that we have. And I won't let that happen as long as I'm breathing. And the way I feel now down south here, the Mother Earth is starting to breathe really hard, You know, she's having a hard time of breathing. Start, you know, producing the fresh water and the plants and everything that belongs to her. You know, she makes that. So when I come down in the southern part of where I come from, and see all the pollution, it just breaks my heart. You know. You know, I have to sit down and smudge someplace, you know. I have to get myself, mind, and body back where I am right now, So I have a lot of difficulties in that. You know, firsthand I seen pollution, the rivers just down here. St. Lawrence River just runs over here. You know, I heard it's so polluted that you can't eat the fish anymore. Wow, you know, it's just...
And it's tragic because once that river is gone, you know, we can have cleanup efforts and you can do some good work, but it takes years, decades to, you know, to restore. And you can't, no matter who you are, you know, create a river. You know, you can't create a lake. You know what I mean? It's just, you know, it's beautiful, majestic, and full of life, and we can't create life no matter how talented or intelligent we think we are. So one of the exciting things about being here is being able to share ideas with people, and one of the things we've been floating around is this idea that, you know, if we are a movement and a movement of many movements, right, of many peoples, and we all have unique languages, unique places that define us, because the land does define us, you know. I grew up by the ocean, and those waves speak to me in ways that, you know, maybe other people don't relate in the same way, but it's you know, we are defined by the places where we grow up. And so if we are here and we are creating an expansive vision of who we can be walking together, you know, we're asking people, well, what would that vision look like, you know? And so if we were to give it a symbol, and that were to be an animal, what would your animal be? What would you imagine our movement that would be expansive and inclusive and with multiple voices be like?
Okay, my clan is a wolf. We have lots of wolves, you know, because we live in the tree line, like I say. They're born and raised in the barren lands, and they come down into the tree line to look for animals and feed their young ones. But they're born in the barren lands, which is no trees, just willows and, you know, and rocks, but no trees. And the wolves, they roam free. They're free animals. They're so strong, and they migrate back and forth on the barren lands and the tree line. And for me, the wolf is one of the most strongest animals for me on this planet. For me, and also I just wanted to add before I finish talking to you is Mother Earth is she's loving, she's kind, and she's very compassionate. She gave us everything that we need to live on. It's on her land, So we're just the keepers, you know, to look after this, so the next generation can use that. So I just wanted to say that and express my feeling. So when I got out of residential school, I went back to the land. I had no teacher, nothing, just absolutely, I was completely lost. So I went back to the instruction from my mom, my late mom, is go back on the land, Henry, find your spirit, and I did. And I used to spend maybe 2 weeks, 10 days, 3 weeks on the land alone, just alone, with no one. And I found my spirit back. And I've been on that healing journey ever since. So this is all I ever teach now, since I'm retired now, is to teach love, kindness, and compassion. Those are the 3 areas I live by, and nothing else. I don't belong to no religion organization at all, or nothing, because the organized religion doesn't teach me the things I want to learn and hear. They don't teach me that, but the land does. Teaches me all that. Teaches me the hardship, and the sunlight, and the warmth, and the animals, the things that I need, the plants. I can live off the land with just plants, you know, and that's what she teaches me. I'm really, really grateful for that. You know, I'm really grateful.
I was thinking as you told me that the animal that you would choose as our symbol would be a wolf. I was thinking about how wolves, like women, have been misunderstood. You know, they're always considered to be deviant, or you know, a predator, right? But in reality, they're caring. They work as a team. They work together. They're very social. They're very intuitive. They're very resourceful. They run and find. You know, I mean, they cover large pieces of territory. And I think a movement that is expansive like that, you know, that is always aware and awake and intuitive and embracive and yet social, but also, you know, spiritual, because that lonely wolf is on a journey on his own. You know, when the wolf separates from his pack and he goes to start another pack, you know, that's a spiritual journey, right? So I think that's a beautiful metaphor, but for a movement of unity, you know, for how we call our people to come together and be in our own local you know, journeys to protect the land, whether it's water or mountains or, you know, beautiful forests like in Coast Salish territory. You know, the goal there is to prevent, you know, the fracking industry, these pipelines from completely destroying
Yes.
a beautiful ecosystem, but also our survival. You know,
Yes.
I mean, what we depend on to survive: the water, the air, the land. You know, those are things that should not be taken for granted. So, can we? I guess this is my last question, because there is a wide campaign of all original peoples to unite and create this beautiful campaign. So maybe you can talk a little bit about the campaign to defend the land.
Okay. One of the things that yeah, I'm just talking what the elders had taught me is to look after the land the best with all indigenous people all over the world. Indigenous people are the keepers of the land, and I think you know that from your teachings too. So the teachings is always there. You know, you can't find it in the textbooks or anything that's going to tell you, you know, go back to the land and do this and do that. It isn't. It's the teachings from our ancestors, our people, our elders, and we, you know, to keep on this campaign. I think it's going to go on. It's growing from here already. You know, there's just the other day there was over 2,000 plus people who were on march right through Parliament Hill. You know, and even though through the hardship was raining and that, but still people hung in there. And that it shows the solidarity of the people, the movement, the indigenous people across this great land that we have. So, you know, like it tells you something. It's on the news all over, in newspapers, and, you know, the television is here. That's why I say technology, use it in a positive way, and our words will come across. You know, like there's so many places where in this world. So in closing, I just want to say solidarity to indigenous people. You know, continue showing love, kindness, and compassion to each other, and also the surrounding with Mother Earth and the family and whoever you meet. You know, and I just want to thank you so much for talking to me, and I really appreciate it. Merci. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for watching this. And if you'd like more information, please go to LatinWaysMedia.com.